Where are my graduate students at? No, I'm gonna mention it, and I'm gonna talk about this a little bit in my About Me section, but literally the only reason I'm allowed to be here, or at least have the excuse to be here, even though I'm on staff and need to be here, is because my school just went back in session this week, and I had to tell my professors that I was going to be away, and I was giving a microbiology lecture, and they were like, "Okay, enjoy your conference." I was like, "Yeah, conference." Look, I'm earning my microbiology degree. I'm gonna put this on my resume. I do not care. This is the. Okay, we have 1 minute left, but I'm gonna just get started now. I think we're good. I don't think anyone else is coming. So, hello everyone. Welcome to Anime Malpractice Simulator. This is my first panel ever. Please be nice to me. It is titled Anime Malpractice Simulator, but I have the disclaimer that I'm actually not going to be talking about the surgery that much. This is actually a very heavily microbiology-based seminar. So if that's not your jam, I'm sorry, but I'm going to try to be funny about it. So why this panel? We all love Trauma Center. I'm sure that's why we're all here. I wanted to combine my expertise in infectious disease with my love for video games, and this is the perfect opportunity to do so. Also, it's an excuse so my grad school will let me skip school this week. I'm not actually taking any classes, but I still have to go to seminars and stuff. But if I told them I was going here, and they waived my absence. So thank you, Hopkins. And also, Trauma Center is the bomb. There we go. There's my obligatory bomb joke. You're welcome. This will never come back. So who am I? Hello, my name is Matt. I'm a master's student in the School of Public Health at Johns Hopkins. I'm in the molecular microbiology and immunology program there. I have research experience in pathogenic bacteriology. My thesis is on antimicrobial resistance and tuberculosis and related non-tuberculosis mycobacteria. But I'm educated in virology, parasitology, and mycology infections to the basic degree, not super fancy, but my curriculum made me learn all of them, so you're gonna have to deal with that. Before I was a grad student, I worked at a clinical lab in a very big hospital in Boston. And I also worked at I worked at Harvard Medical School for a little while, so I've been around the block. And also, a lot of people used to tell me I looked like Derek Stiles, so. Also, very big disclaimer, I am not a doctor. And anything that is said here should not be construed as proper medical advice, yet. That is probably going to change in maybe 7 years. Who knows? Big if. So how this panel is going to be organized, so I'm going to be talking about guilt, neo-guilt, stigma, and the Rosalia virus in that order, and their relationship to real-world infectious diseases. This was done based on the infected organs we see in surgery, the pathology that they present with, and symptoms, and also for some of them, vibes, because let's be real, not all of them really fit neatly into a box. I'm looking at you, Alethea. I want this to be an educational but also really funny panel, so please sit back and enjoy. But I am going to tell you there is scientific jargon, but I'm going to try and explain it as best as I can in a funny and simplistic way. But if you have questions, you can always say yes, no, maybe so. I don't mind. So let's talk about how infections occur first. The CDC defines 4 different things that we need. So you need the source, the place where microbes live, so this can be soil, water, anywhere in the environment. They need a mode of transmission, or how they get from place to place, so airborne viruses like COVID, or oral fecal route from foodborne illnesses and stuff like that. You need a person who is immunocompromised or the bacteria has immunomodulatory tools, and then they need a way to be able to adhere, colonize, and multiply, and that's how infections work at the very basic level. So now we're going to talk about guilt. Guilt. Let's see what that stands for. This is certainly a word that exists. Gangliated utrophin immunolatency toxin. I had so much fun trying to define this. So what does that even mean? So gangliated literally just means encapsulated nerve cells, usually at a synapse or a junction. Utrophin is actually a real thing. That is not a fake word that they made for the anime. It is a muscle protein involved in cytoskeletal function found at neuromuscular junctions, so it actually is related to gangliated. They're not just saying random words. Everyone knows that, has to do with our immune system. Latency, the literal definition means time between exposure to your pathogen or cancer substance, or so symptoms of disease or cancer. And toxin is just a naturally occurring thing that is dangerous or harmful to humans or other organisms that something produces to either infect or survive or do whatever it needs to do what it does. In short, guilt itself, if we followed that definition, is not an organism. It would be a toxin. This acronym is whack. So now we're going to talk about all the guilt. So we're going in order. I'm going in order from the first one we see to the last one we see. And first we're starting with Kiriaki. You can see it's very beautiful. And I associated this with Toxoplasma gondii, which is a zoonotic parasitic infection. Who here loves cats? How many people love cats? You may or may not have toxoplasma in your body already. I am so sorry. So in the Trauma Center series, we find Kiriaki in the lungs, but it can also be found in the GI tract, hearts, and the kidneys. Primary pathology is lacerations and cuts in the infected organ, leading to blood loss, shock, and cardiac arrest. In Trauma Center 2, you can find eggs from the queen. I don't know where the hell that came from. Suddenly there's a queen now, come on. And they're buried in the organ, leading to cysts, which is actually a real thing that occurs in the human body when you're infected with parasites sometimes. And they produce a large amount of spirohedrine, which is fake, by the way, which leads to mood swings and psychosis. But actually, Toxoplasma gondii does the same thing, except it doesn't try to cut you up and kill you like that. So it can infect almost any warm-blooded mammal via oral fecal route, but it only reproduces sexually in cats because cats are its preferred organism host. And anyone else, it reproduces asexually, and I'll kind of go in detail in the next slide, where it systematically spreads through the bloodstream to the brain, the liver, and muscle tissues where it forms cysts. In order to get back to the cat, they modify neurons in the brain to alter the brain chemistry and behavior of animals that are eaten by cats. So rats lose their fear of cat pee, and they'll go closer to cats. They love the smell of cat pee now. They want to be near it. I know, weird sentence to be saying in front of a live studio audience. And so that's how they get back. They get eaten by the cat, and so the eggs and the cysts are back in the cat, and they can reproduce sexually, and the cycle begins anew. This has also been seen in humans, leading to psychosis, depression, sometimes even Alzheimer's disease, and suicide ideation, which is exactly seen with Kiriaki cases where they had suicide ideation in the primary patient, where the first Kiriaki patient you experienced in the game had those exact same symptoms. So Toxoplasma gondii fits really nicely into this, but unfortunately, this is probably the easiest one to do. They're not going to be this easy. And then, so just because I like talking about this, these are the different forms of Toxoplasma gondii and its life cycle. So in the cat, you basically you get the, so this is the oocysts here, this is the eggs, and then you get the cat, it goes in, they differentiate, they, do all the fun stuff, and then they get released in the feces, and then it gets transferred to another animal via oral fecal route, and then the cyst releases into the body, releases bradyzoites, which are these small things in here. And then they differentiate into the tachyozoites, which is this big thing right here. The whole big circle thing is here. They multiply into more bradyzoites, form cysts, and then explode. And then they transfer everywhere else. And then this right here is what you would see in the cat. This is the sexually reproducing form of the infection. And so this is the only time you're going to see this, because I was a nerd and one of my professors actually studies Toxoplasma at school, so I have to know this or she would be very mad at me. Now we're going to talk about Diphtheria. It is primarily found in the stomach and the lungs. Pathology includes tumorigenesis and metastasis, along with hemorrhaging in the mutated strains. I have no idea. They never explain how you get it, so I'm assumed to be fecal oral or airborne. It's also very pretty. I like how it looks. For some reason, the trauma center community is convinced that it's Listeria monocytogenes. I don't know why they think it's Listeria monocytogenes, but I just went with it anyways. It is an intracellular parasitic bacteria, so it's a bacteria that also happens to be a parasite. This is going to be a reoccurring trend. It also infects the GI tract, and invasive infections can go into other parts of the body, like the lungs. And some studies have suggested that it can promote cancer growth via immunomodulatory stuff on the cells. I'm not going to go into the immunology. I'm sorry if people want to go into the immunology. I can do that after class because I would be here all night if I did. Anyways, trite, everyone's favorite. Everyone's favorite. It's primarily affected the pancreas. I don't think it affected anywhere else in the story. If it did, I'm sorry, I don't remember. It causes calcification and hardening of the afflicted organ, leading to organ failure and death. It is the center of a lot of players' trauma. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Hope you liked my joke. I worked very hard on it. So it is actually not based off of like a bacterial or infection. It's actually based off of an autoimmune disorder called systemic scleroderma and Crest syndrome. I am not going to talk about that because immunology is not my wheelhouse. However, I will say that it is caused by antibodies that are self-reactive and trigger an immune response against the human body. And that causes the thickening of your skin and calcium deposits in soft tissue locations, which hardens them up. What I will say is that normally the human body has a way of preventing these things, has a lot of checks and balances to make sure that this doesn't happen to us, but when you lose one or two of those checks and balances, it can turn into this. Now we're on to Pempty. Who remembers Pempty? This one sucks. So it primarily affects the lungs, occasionally the liver. It has that giant thick mucus layer. We all remember how we had to do that boss fight. That hinders organ function. The simplest way that I can put it is think of pneumonia or fluid buildup in the lungs. And then the core itself is where the DNA is, and destroying the core means to destroy the pathogen. So of course, I went with influenza, because we all love flu, right? We all love the flu. Flu is also the respiratory infection. You know, it's a lot of symptoms, especially in severe cases, can lead to mucus and fluid buildup in the lungs and pneumonia from a stringent immune response. The core, in terms of virology, is like the structural unit of the virus itself. It provides the structure, it protects the DNA, or the genetic material in this case, because influenza is an RNA virus, and allows for the delivery of the genetic material into the infected cell. Unfortunately, you can't shoot a laser at it. It is too tiny. If I could shoot a laser at influenza, we wouldn't have influenza anymore. But I wanted to say that, like, you can see in this picture, that's like what a standard flu virus looks like under electron microscopy. You can kind of see, like, this is the core, like the whole unit of the virion. And then I could talk all day about flu because flu is fun, but I'm not. Now we're on to Tardy. Everyone loved this one because it took like half the game to deal with. Primarily found in the liver and GI tract. So pathology includes toxic diverticula formation in the GI tract and liver. It has weight loss, jaundice, abdominal pain, like all sorts of fun stuff. Diverticula is like technically like when you have like loose sacs in like your tissue, primarily in like the GI tract, and like things can build up in it, like toxins or like bacterial. It's easy to get infected, and it can like burst and like lead to, you know, sepsis and like spreading a systemic bacterial infection or whatever else is in your body. And this is a good example of antigen production in a study to counter infection without providing lasting immunity, because you spent like half of the chapter trying to build antibodies to this stupid thing. But in that context, you know how you have like if you give a man a fish, he's gonna be not hungry for a day, but if you teach a man a fish, he's gonna like never be hungry again. It's the same concept. You're not providing the stimulation to develop the immune system to prevent tetardy. You are giving someone already existing antibodies to stop the infection that is going on, but you do not get to keep those antibodies. They're gonna go away on their own. So that's what I meant. So the example that I use for this is Chinese liver fluke. Do not eat fish. Do not eat snails. It will hurt you. And there, because the eggs are found in like fish, contaminated water, snails. They get into your body and they find themselves in your bile ducts, in your liver, in your pancreas, and they just they grow up and they get stuck there, and it hurts. It hurts a lot. It's really painful. They feed off your blood and their bile, and it can be deadly if left untreated. It is not as deadly as other liver flukes or like blood flukes, but we're not talking about those. They lay a ton and ton of eggs. It's like over thousands and thousands of eggs. Most of them, get shut out when you poop, but a bunch of them stay in the liver ducts. And you're just going to have a ton and ton and ton and ton of them, and it builds up, and it sucks, and you'll die. Or you'll just be really suffering. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I hope you're happy. Okay, so Paraskivi, we all love worms, right? We all love worms. So it's a worm-like pathogen that enters the small intestine and GI tract and eventually leads to the heart. And in the games, it's fatal as soon as it enters the heart. And in the games, it was obtained both via airborne. Some of the patients that got it when that guy in Trauma Center, in the Wii remake, suddenly blew chunks all over everyone at the medical conference. That was real fun. Bioengineering was a mistake, guys. Don't do it. And so I could have picked any worm, really any worm at this point, because there's a lot of them. So I picked trichinella because it felt like it was the most appropriate. But I was considering heartworm, like dog heartworm for a while, because I think that one also really works. But trichinella is a roundworm nematode that obtains when you eat underprepared pork or wild carnivorous game. So if you hunt a bear and you don't cook it right, I don't know why you would eat a bear, but if you do, there's a chance of you getting trichinella. So it enters the small intestine for laying eggs, and then those larvae leave. They hatch and they travel through the bloodstream. They go all over your body systematically, and all worms do this. There's a bunch of different ways that worms can do this, but that's one way they do it. And they produce complications when they get to those other organs, and they can cause muscle stiffness, and they can also get to the heart and cause heart inflammation, heart disease, and stuff like that. And so that's why I went with that for that. It's getting a little harder now. It's getting a little harder to be able to say one-to-one, because this thing just digs through the organ, and then suddenly it's in another organ. What the hell? Oh my God. Fuck this one. Oh wait, I'm not allowed to say that word, sorry. I don't like this one. This one sucked. And when someone suggested this to me, I was like, oh my God, you're right. This is actually right. This makes sense. I was not considering it. I was considering this one an unprovable one until someone told me this. But yeah, it's the true final boss of the original Trauma Center. We all love that one. It has tumorigenesis because we love tumors. It makes a web. We all remember having to burn off the web from excess fibrin and fibrinogen to produce webs that produce a thick core around the heart. And we all love drawing a star of a Wiimote, don't we, guys? That was the hardest thing this game made me do when I was a child that wasn't Tritey. And so in Trypanosoma cruzi, which is the pathogen I chose, it has two different phases, acute and chronic. Acute is more mild. You get it from flies, the fly droppings. And you get mild flu or GI infection symptoms. Sometimes you don't get anything at all. But then a couple years down the line, depends on how long everything is, you get the chronic phase. And chronic is when it's in the heart, and it causes heart issues partially due to myocardial fibrosis, which is essentially they're recruiting excess fibrin and fibrinogen to thicken up the heart. It's kind of like making the web around the heart that Spravato does. And so when I realized that, I was like, oh my God, this actually makes sense, because I was thinking a little too hard about morphology and not about what they're actually doing in this moment. The guilt were the easiest ones to do, because the Trauma Center fandom is very smart and already did my job for me for that one. They loved doing it for the first game. Everything else was much harder. So please bear with me. Now I'm going off of pure vibes. Anyways, Neo Guilt. Second verse, same as the first. We're going to have fun with this one. So first up is Noose. What's up with this game's obsession with Simon Says? If you remember, you have to, the tumors pop up, and then you have to extract them in that order, and then deal with the core. Obviously, it's tumorigenesis with a solid core infecting the liver, hepatitis, liver inflammation, liver failure, all that fun stuff. So obviously, I had to go with hepatitis B and C, right? So actual hepatitis, both B and C, and even A, but we don't really care about A in this context, causes liver inflammation and can lead to permanent scarring and damage. And due to the nature of how these viruses replicate, specifically B and C, they evade the immune system and can trigger tumor growth that leads to liver cancer. Viruses that do this are called oncoviruses, and there are multiple oncoviruses for different organ systems.
Fuck HPV.
True! Get your HPV vaccine, guys! And the genes that they target are called oncogenes. This is a pretty well-studied field, and people are still studying it to this day. But specifically, when they target, what they do is they're targeting different genes in the cell cycle. They're either inhibiting them or trying to make them grow rapidly unchecked. So they're inhibiting the ones that prevent growth while trying to also, sometimes they also try to stimulate the ones that stimulate growth. And sometimes as a side effect, you get cancer. And that's not actually what they're trying to do. They're just trying to replicate. But they give you cancer instead. Thanks, hepatitis. So Bythos. This one is pure vibes. I don't think there's anything like it. But I'm going to say that for 5 others too. So while it's latent, it provides boosts to motor skills and brain function. I wish that were me. But when activated, it causes serious organ damage, being laceration, because this game loves making you suture things and inflammation. I really wish there was a bacteria or a parasite that just cuts things. That would be really nice. That would make this panel much easier. But there's not. So no organism really does this. But I work with mycobacteria, so I was like, I'm just going to put mycobacteria here. They tend to infect these locations in disseminated infection. They're usually found in the lungs, but in immunocompromised people, they can go just about anywhere, and they can do a lot of stuff. And the core just reminds me of a mycobacterial abscess. When you look at an abscess, you have all the bacteria in the middle, and then you have a bunch of I wish I had figures for this. I'm really sorry. I made this yesterday. And you have all the neutrophils and the immune system trying to go at it, and it builds up this mass. And that's what it reminded me of. So I was like, that's what we're going to do, because I like this. This is what I know. But honestly, this is just vibes. This is going to be the rest of the panel. I'm sorry. Sig, sighing. I don't really know how to pronounce this, guys. I'm sorry. Siege. Was there voice acting in that game? I haven't played Trauma Center 2 in forever. I did not do enough watching videos for this panel. I'm sorry. Pathology, inflammation that leads to pus and blood being trapped in the lungs. It can also create pressurized pockets of gas, leading to further complications. You gotta do a lot of sucking. You gotta do a lot of blowing. You gotta do a lot of things for this thing. So I didn't choose any one specific disease for this. I was like, this is just a pulmonary infection. If I picked one, I'd be like, but also this, but also that. All of these different things. We've already discussed influenza earlier, but bacterial pneumonia and even fungal infections can cause similar inflammation and damage. Yeah, aspergillus. I love aspergillus. I hate aspergillus. And then we have alephia. There's nothing here. There's nothing I could say about this one. Trying to talk about the bomb would be easier than trying to talk about this one in a pathological context. So you know what? I have nothing to say about this. She's giving mother. She's a really rancidly mother, actually. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. There's really no in-real-life explanation for this, but certain pathogens, primarily the intracellular ones, can initiate cell-to-cell fusion to spread to other cells and do a bunch of other fun stuff. And the closest thing that I can potentially think of this is malaria, because it can infect the heart, and even that is a stretch. Honestly, if I saw this in a surgery, I'd be like, okay, bye, you're dead, have fun. I'd just be, close them up, goodbye. The bomb is gone. Where'd that bomb? Yeah, where's that bomb go? I'd rather be doing surgery on that. So I didn't want to go through this whole thing because it's not actually an infection, but honorable mention to post-guilt syndrome, PGS, is not an infection, but rather a complication experienced post-infection. I would similarly describe it similar to long COVID or post-treatment Lyme disease. It is caused by lasting damage from the infection, leading to chronic inflammation and immune responses. For example, post-treatment Lyme disease can be caused by the fact that even though the bacteria is gone from your body, it shed its lipid bilayer, and it's still in your joints and stuff like that, and can trigger an immune response, because that is one of the big uh-ohs, you're bad signals to the body. And when it finds that, it can trigger an immune response, and that's why you get arthritis and all these other problems with when you have PTLD. And so I would also say it's more akin to post-infection of oncoviruses because you see they all have tumors because the game only knows tumors. Like that's the only thing it teaches you how to do. And so tumors, yay, everything is tumors. That's the rest of this panel. Now we're going to talk about stigma. Fun fact, I barely played New Blood, so I'm really sorry about this segment. I watched some YouTube videos to try and understand them a bit better. I will say that Rockville does not look like that. If you know, you know. But yeah. So, oh crap, I forgot to put a picture of Cher in here. Woo! I thought I was done. Anyways, this one was also of Reach. And so Cher is very basically Kairiaki 2. It's literally just Kairiaki 2, except it fuses this time, and that's fun. That's great. Here's the laser. Go pew pew die. I like suturing. Yay. We're done. The reason I picked these two is because based on the organisms organs that it infects, we see the inflammation and damage is similar, but not necessarily the same. And not gonna lie, I used to work with Yersinia pseudotuberculosis for a rotation project, and I already talked about Lyme disease earlier. I like these organisms, so I just picked them because I like them. It's the vibes. Soma, yay, Soma. Soma is just a blob. You suck it to win. Do not repeat that. It triggers tumorigenesis because what doesn't promote tumors in this stupid game? And diverticuli to damage organisms and release toxins into the system. The fluid protects the solid core, suck it to win. So I chose N-amoeba histolytica, which is a amoeba. It's right there in the name. They have a very similar morphology. It has a similar life cycle to other like parasites. It produces cysts and stuff like that. You also get it through, contaminated food and drink. It can either be systemic and invasive or non-invasive. With a life cycle, they just make eggs and then they go out your body through your poop. But sometimes they get stuck, they go the wrong way, and now they're in your heart. Have fun. And the pathway through that is cell death, triggering the pro-inflammatory pathways, and parasite invasion after the inflammation has started. And then now you're dealing with a bunch of other stuff and heart failure. Yay, have fun. Yay. Ops. This is the best picture I could get of ops. Thanks, Trauma Center Wiki. So also, obviously, tumor creation, because everything makes tumors in this stupid game. In the GI tract, and it takes nutrients from the host for nourishment. In the game, it was commonly misdiagnosed as peptic ulcers and GI tract tumors. Honestly, this one's kind of mid. I'm whatever about it. So I went with H. pylori because I think H. pylori is cooler. It's an opportunistic bacterial infection that leads to peptic ulcers and tumors due to pH manipulation and destruction of the mucosal lining in the stomach. So it exposes your stomach to your stomach acid, so you get that beautiful, beautiful hydrochloric acid directly on your stomach lining. Feels great. They're not quite the same. Obviously, ops is an I, and H. pylori is whatever it is. It's a beautiful little rod with a bunch of tentacles sticking out. They're both hard to kill, so good luck with that. Have fun. Onyx. Yay. More worms. It's always worms. Always comes back to worms. So Onyx is just Kairiaki 3, but also it has toxins this time, because we love toxins and we love cutting up organs. By the time you get cut up, you're dead, but this is trauma center, so it's fine. They're a parasitic-like organism, burrows into organs, creates lacerations, bleeding, inflammation, the works. That's all you're gonna get from me for the rest of this panel. I am so sorry. This is all they are. Do you know how hard it was to try and put stuff to this? Because all they do is bleed. All they do is make tumors. It's why am I even trying at this point? This is all vibes at this point. I am vibing. I am having fun. These are probably very wrong, but I am having fun. What time is it? Okay, I've still got good time. So I chose the liver and pancreas infections of Ascarius, which is another roundworm, primarily infects the GI tract, but it can and will escape in the biliary ducts and infect the liver and pancreas. I did not want to get a picture of this one because if you go online and look up Ascariasis, those worms are big, like big. And that would have been like a massive content warning, and I did not want to suffer you guys that. I like medicine, but not everyone likes medicine like that. So yeah, it'll block things. It leads to inflammation of the infected organs and abscess formation. So like that's the closest thing you can get to lacerations in the real world, basically. And they'll live for a long time, and they grow massive. And it's because they can evade the immune system really well, and but also the immune system just isn't designed to deal with stuff this big. You can I wish I had a video. I wish I had the video, but I don't. But you can watch videos of the immune system trying to attack a worm in your body, and they just can't do anything about it, or it's not very effective. It's like Pokemon. However, there's a lot of really fun things about worms that I could talk about in an immunology lecture, but I will not do it here. However, if you are interested, I would look up the hygiene hypothesis. That's your homework if you're interested. If you want one. It's extra credit, but if you want it, you can have it.
What percentage of our grade is the test?
69. Brachion, this one was actually fun because I can actually kind of put this somewhere. So it primarily affects the kidneys and lungs. It attaches to the organs and then secretes toxins in the tissue through the arms. It's hard to kill. I hated, I watched the YouTube video and I was like, wow, this kind of sucks. There's a lot of different fungi that could have gone with this, but I went with Candida albicans because the way that it looks under a microscope kind of reminded me of Brachion, and systemic candidiasis infections do that. It's not generally dangerous to a normal person, but when you're immunosuppressed or under immunomodulatory stuff like steroids, or when you're getting cancer treatments and stuff like that, it can become a systemic infection and really hurt you. And the morphology includes budding bodies, so you can see the yeast cells, and then the little tree root things, or hyphae, and it just kind of reminded me of the Brachion. I was like, this is fine. This looks cool. And also, this is common in a lot of fungi, but they produce a metabolite that is toxic to humans and can exacerbate immune problems in immunocompromised patients and in regular people too. So yay, toxin ingest toxins. We love toxins. Cardia. Biotech has gone too far. Biotech has gone too far. Do not go into biotech. This is a joke. Hello, biotech people in the audience. This is a joke. Please hire me. I'm graduating in May. This is the final boss fight of New Blood. It's a good final boss fight. We need more Gregorian chanting with rock music. Thank you, Atsuji Kitajo. Do you like color matching? Can you draw a star? Congratulations, you can kill this thing. Actually, you don't even need to draw a star. You can beat this without the healing touch if you know what you're doing. From what I can tell, I haven't done it. But it is in the context of the game. It was built to act as an immunomodulatory to prevent a autoimmune disease from progressing. The main antagonist had a really serious autoimmune disease that was going to kill him, and so he made this to not die. However, it turns out it made him crazy. It caused psychosis and very severe behavioral changes and made him into a literal psychopath. We love biotech. That's how that works. Because that's totally how that works. This is not the first time it happens in trauma center either. Because that's how that works. And finally, this one is my favorite. We got the Rosalia virus because this one is actually real. This is actually a real virus that you can get, and I'm sure you've all heard of it. Rosalia virus is based off of Marburg and Ebola. Have fun, guys. It is actually a Filoviridae in the family of Filoviridae, so it is a reverse sense RNA virus, and it is actually realistic. Oh my God, this is so happy. I'm so happy I could talk about something and it's kind of real. It's not entirely real, but it's mostly real. So it was transmitted via butterfly scales that get in the mucous membranes. I'm not going to talk about how that happened because that is major spoilers for Trauma Team. Go play Trauma Team. And the pathology is a mixture of actual like viral hemorrhagic fever and oncoviruses because you have the actual symptoms of viral hemorrhagic fever, but you also get polyps and tumor development because you have to have tumors in a trauma center game. And some people get psychosis, they experience hallucinations, and I believe the psychosis can be attributed to hypoxia from blood loss because you're bleeding out, basically. Like you got bruises all over your body, like your organs are literally bursting at this point, like you're dying. Or maybe it's the bleach injection treatment. I'll get to that in a second. So it's actually based off of real viral hemorrhagic fevers. I'm sure we've all heard of at least Ebola because it's been in the news a couple times in the past. It goes through all the organs of the stomach. Liver is one of the highest ones affected, so that's why like in the surgery sections you see it in the liver, unless you're talking about the final boss, which I will kind of talk about, but not really. And it's transferred through bodily fluid contact, specifically blood. But if it gets in your mucous membranes, you're gonna get sick, and it has a pretty high infection rate. So that's why like when you're treating it, you have to be very like proactive about protecting PPE and protection, make sure that you're contact tracing everyone who's been in contact with someone who's positive for Ebola. So that's why like when you're watching like a show and they're like, this person has Ebola, they all freak out because of that. And it very quickly leads to organ damage and critical failure due to the cytokine storms. We've all probably heard that word because of COVID too. Kind of same deal, but different, and extreme tissue damage. Never forget sodium hypochlorite. By the way, sodium hypochlorite is bleach. You inject bleach into a polyp in this game. What the hell is going on? I wish I had the video for this because the delivery of sodium hypochlorite, are you crazy, is a really good line. But I wish they said bleach. I wish they had actually said bleach. Do not do this. This is not ivermectin. Do not do this. Do not do any of this. Please, please, please. Do not get an idea about this. I think people tried this before of COVID. It didn't work. It's not going to work again. Don't do it. Please. I'm going to find you and hurt you. So now we're going to talk a little bit about Twisted Rosalia. Twisted Rosalia is the final boss of the game. Without spoiling too much, there's one of the main characters of Trauma Team. She was in the previous games. She worked with guilt so much, she got super hyper mega guilt and was gonna die in like 2 years. Yeah, right? Agreed. So she got super hyper mega guilt and was gonna die in 2 years. And then she got Rosalia. And they merged because that's a thing you can do in Trauma Center. That's a thing you can do in Trauma Center. You cannot see genetic mixing like this in real life. Especially if you go from a virus to what basically is just heartworm. You cannot do that. However, in real life, certain viruses can easily mix and transfer their genetic data around to be more resistant to antibodies and vaccines, other methods of treatment. The most common example of this is influenza. This is why we have to get a flu shot like every year, because it does this so much. And the reason it does this is because it's not like one like whole thing, like how I'm sure everyone is familiar how like we have like chromosomes and like DNA is like that. In influenza, because it always goes back to influenza, it has 8 segments of single-stranded RNA, and it is able to freely mingle and mix when it has escaped containment and is currently trying to replicate. So if you have a cell that is infected with multiple different strains of the same virus, all that stuff gets mixed together. It can combine. It can do fun party things. It's a nice little party trick. And that leads to the high genetic diversity in a viral population, and this is called antigenic shift. It is very fun. This is why we have to get a flu shot every year, guys. Anyways, Twisted Rosalia is not possible. If I saw that on an operating table, I would just leave. Sorry, Naomi, you're dying. Anyways, that was the last thing. I'm sorry, this was less than an hour, I think. But I tried to make it as entertaining as possible. Since we still have like 20 minutes. If you guys have any questions or comments, You can start asking me stuff, and I'll answer them. It can be about anything. It doesn't have to be about guilt. Yes, you in front.
All right, going by vibes, what kind of microorganism would you compare to disarming a bomb and then
Are you kidding me?
a child's lock?
Disarming a bomb and what?
A child's lock and a bomb.
Oh my god. I would just leave. I would just leave at that point. Yes.
I don't know if you're familiar with this one, but besides the why does bioengineering do this? How would you like fit in this sort of thing with the creeper disease from Advanced Wars Days of Ruin?
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Creeper disease is fun. For those of you who don't know what creeper disease is from Advanced Wars, it's basically like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a long time since I played Advanced Wars Days of Ruin, but like basically you get sick, and then your body basically turns into a plant. It also only affects young people. That's the screwed up part. Honestly, that's a really, maybe smallpox. Maybe. It's really hard to say because you would think it'd be the other way around because like as you get older your immune system gets worse. So you'd think it'd be the other way around, but I don't know, maybe there's something we haven't figured out about young people yet. Or maybe there's a fantasy young people thing that goes away when you get older. Because when you need for diseases to replicate, especially viral diseases, could be the thymus. Yeah, hormones. Hormones would be a really good one for that, actually, yes. I didn't think about that because I didn't think about that. I'm running off of like 200 milligrams of caffeine in a dream right now. So thank you for that. But yes, like it could be hormone production, it could be other things. But I really like the idea of hormone production. That one sounds the most logical other than we have a receptor that goes away as we age. Yes, you in the green shirt. It's also giving mother. She's still giving mother even though she's a baby. I actually really like that idea. I didn't think about that because I don't think about that. I mainly think about organisms. So I like that. I like your perspective. Yes, you.
So I'm probably the only person here who's here for the biology.
No, there's a couple people who are here for the biology.
Yeah, okay, good. I was going to ask, if you could design a enemy or a boss for a trauma center game based on a real pathogen, what real pathogen would you choose?
I love this question. I would have to sit and actually think about it because I can't think of this on the spot. Yeah, I do. I'll get back to that one. That's true. Yeah, I'll make that for the next one. That'll be my next MAGFest panel if panels decides to let me. Well, so I've been working with tuberculosis, and I've been working with non-tuberculosis related mycobacteria. So it'd be fun to do one of those. Like,
what's the mechanic for tuberculosis?
so tuberculosis, it replicates inside of neutrophils. It gets inside like phagosomes inside neutrophils, and it can survive in the pH acidity, like the phagosomes and the lysosomes they're designed to like pick up the bacteria or the the non-self stuff and break it down. So the infection is gone. They can survive that. They replicate there. They love that, and they can stay in there for a while. That's like why dormant TB is a thing. So it'd be fun to because Pempty kind of does that. So that's why that's why I didn't want to say TB, but I really like TB because Pempty kind of already does that. Honestly, like any lung infection, I could have said tuberculosis for because tuberculosis is whack. But like the other organisms I've worked with, I've only really worked with tuberculosis and non-tuberculosis mycobacteria related to it, and Pseudomonas aeruginosa. I think Pseudomonas aeruginosa would be fun because of biofilms. That could be a fun one to deal with. It would, yeah. It would be. Well, we already got treaty, but this time you're not calcifying. I'll go with you next because you raised your hand first. Oh my god, I love Uchikoshi. Any AI The Somnium Files fans in here? Date did nothing wrong.
He's my favorite man. I would push down the stairs.
Yes, I would also push him down the stairs and then throw a porno mag at him.
And then he would catch it.
He would catch it with his legs. Anyways, that's completely unrelated. Radical 6. What a fun little thing. I am not a neurobiologist, so I cannot say anything about the brain. But have you heard about Ice 9? There's my answer. Okay, you wanted to answer a question, right?
Yeah. So I'm also here for the biology stuff.
Thank you.
Who here works professionally as like a biologist, medical related? Like,
I'm really sorry for the professional biologists in the field right now. I'm still a baby.
we love you. You're doing great, sweetie.
I teach high school biology right now, but
How fun is that?
I took a microbiology and food science courses back in undergrad.
Yes.
And I am sorry to tell you that I really love seafood and especially shellfish. So I want to know, what is your favorite
Vibrio?
horrific-
We talking about Vibrio now?
Yeah. Which one is your favorite for all of the foodborne illnesses you can get from shellfish specifically?
Vibrio hemolyticus, I think, is just because it's funny to say.
Can you say it again slower because I'm not listening?
Vibrio hemolyticus, because it's funny. Hemolyticus is a fun word. Hemo means blood, and lyticus means like lice, like it breaks. So it literally means like breaking blood, but not bad. Don't do that.
Jesse, we have to immunize.
We do have to immunize. Immunize your children, people. Okay, I can't say anymore. MAGFest will kick me out if I say more. Yes, you over there.
What is your favorite zombie virus?
So, fun fact: the department chair of my program, he talks about The Last of Us all the time because he literally wrote the theory on like global warming and infecting like fungal pathogens infecting humans. He did not get consulted for that show, and he is very mad about it. But I would pick that just because I like my department chair. Shout outs to Dr. Casadevall. But yeah, he talks about cordyceps all the time. Whenever he gives a guest lecture, he always fucking mentions cordyceps. Sorry, excuse my French.
Sorry, I hope you have cordyceps now. That's what.
Yeah, so he always talks about cordyceps. He's also the one who talked about he's also the one that talks a lot about the hygiene theory that I mentioned earlier. And the hygiene theory is, in very brief details possible, is that when you look at well-developed first world countries versus third world countries, you notice that in first world countries you have a lesser prevalence of like worms and helminths, but you have a really massive increase in like autoimmune diseases and allergies. Whereas when you go to third world countries that have a higher prevalence of like helminths and parasites like roundworms, you don't have as much autoimmunity and you don't have as much allergy. And the reason that might be is because the immune pathway that deals with helminths also deals with allergies and autoimmunity. So there's a whole theory about it, and it's like a bell curve. You should read it.
There was also a study, there was also a study where they gave, I think it was people with asthma, they gave asthmatics.
Yes, he has talked about that. Yes.
A subacute parasitic infection.
Yes. He's talked about that. I know exactly what you're talking about. That's why I know about this very well.
Somebody that isn't a biologist, is this basically a very complicated way of saying your children should eat dirt every day?
Yes. My parents loved it when I ate dirt. That's why I don't have any allergies. I saw someone raise a hand in the back.
I think we got it with the hygiene.
Yeah, you in the back.
What guilt do you think is closest to prions?
Oh my God, not prions. No prions allowed in this house. Get prions away from me. I don't like prions. That is exactly like Ice 9, you're right. I don't know. It's really hard to say because none of them really affect the brain, but also I just think trauma center was too much of a coward to do neurosurgery. Derek Stiles is a quitter. What?
There was a neurosurgery, part. I think it's in New Blood.
That's probably why, because I didn't. There, yeah, but it didn't have Derek Stiles in it. Now, did it? Actually, no, it does at the very end. You're right. But he's not actually playable in the game, and that's why there's neurosurgery in it, because it's not Derek Stiles as a playable character.
The one chapter.
I do remember that, actually. Even though I haven't really played the game, I did watch a bunch of videos to try and be a little educated. But I think that was still what? A bunch of lacerations and tumors, if I remember correctly. You know, same old song and dance, but now you're in the brain. I'm a neurosurgeon now. I got my Wii degree. Prions. It was also, oh yes, and aneurysms. How could I forget about aneurysms? I am such a fool.
Yeah, anastomosis, remember?
Yeah, like I said, New Blood is the one I haven't really played, so I will forget things about New Blood very easily. I have played every other game. I need to play New Blood, but the most thing I remember most about New Blood is the fact that part of it takes place in Maryland, and they showed that picture of the highway. They showed that picture of the Beltway, and I was like, it does not fucking look like that. This is how I know I'm in a fantasy world. Also, I'm really sorry I keep saying the F word. I should stop doing that. But it does not look like that. That's how you know you're in fantasy world. And it is... We have 10 minutes left, so has anyone questions? Yes, you.
Would you say that playing, I mean, you know, I also work in virology. I got my PhD recently.
Congratulations. I just applied to PhD programs, which was a mistake.
And you know, like I was inspired to go into the field, like partly because I read The Stand by Stephen King at a very young and impressionable.
I did not read that book, but
Would you say that, like, playing, I don't know, when you started playing trauma center games?
when I was very young, that's why I'm like a biologist.
Did it inspire you to go into the field?
Yes and no. My mother's a veterinarian, so I've been exposed to biology from a young age. However, my dad got my mom Trauma Center as a gift because he thought it was a regular surgeon game. My mom found out very quickly it was not a regular surgeon game and gave it to me instead. So thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad. No, I played because I got Second Opinion was my first Trauma Center game, and I got that when I don't remember how long, but I was I was still in grade school because I'm only 28, so I'm young, kind of. So I was probably 10 or 11, maybe 12, and that's very impressionable in a child at that age. I mean, I'd already seen the whole surgery, song, and dance. I had assisted my mom with surgeries. Don't tell anyone. Yeah. Well, I wasn't doing the surgeries. I was just there.
12 years of age.
I wasn't doing anything. I was just watching. I've seen some stuff. I've seen what they have to do to rabid dogs, or a dog that you have to put down and bite, because they bite you. I watched my mom do that at the age of 14, with just a scalpel. Well, I've seen a lot of things, so Trauma Center didn't really bother me at all, to say the least. But I didn't go into veterinary medicine. I wanted to go into human medicine. That's why. However, given the current state of the world, I would probably still strongly consider a DVM at this point, because I feel like that's the only thing that matters these days right now. But congratulations on your PhD. I feel like I'm defending a thesis up here right now. Any other questions? Yes, you right there.
This is less of a biology medical question, but what was your favorite doctor to play as in trauma team?
Oh, that's a really good question. I liked all of them. But can I say not Chie? No, it's Maria. It's Maria Torres. She's literally just not Chie. She's literally just not Chie. That game literally was just not Chie, and Yukiko are doctors now.
I thought you were saying not Chie like you don't like her. I'm like, excuse me.
She was literally just Hispanic Chie. I'm sorry. Atlas has one character design, and it's Chie. But no, I really liked Maria. I really liked Tomoe. I liked all of them. I mean, obviously surgery was my favorite because I played all the other trauma games. But I think my least favorite was Gabriel, but that's just because I rather like do the surgeries. But I still thought he was funny. I still liked him as a character. When I was younger, and I was like, I would rather just be doing the surgery. I'm a hands-on person, not a I need to think about this logically sometimes person. But I liked all the doctors in that game. I thought they were all very fun. Hank Freebird is cool too. Anyone else?
How long would Dr. House last in Trauma Center before
I think House would die, like immediately. House was found dead in Caduceus. No, actually, that is a really good question. I feel like House would be a very good doctor, but also a very bad doctor at the same time. Well, that is just the show, but like it's especially true in Trauma Center, because the rules are made up and nothing actually matters. I mean, he's not like, I don't know. I feel like House would be like, he would be at Hope Hospital and Derek would be like, what the hell is wrong with you? He would make Derek quit. He would single-handedly end the Trauma Center series by existing in Trauma Center because Derek didn't want to be a doctor anymore. Any other questions? Yes, you in the green hoodie.
Yes. What is your favorite straightest guild to play against?
It's Savato, but that's just because it's the final boss. It's fun. I played against it like a ton. The music for Savato is also really good. I just like it. I like, it felt fun to do cardiac surgery, and like the stakes felt really high. Gotta save Angie's dad. Gotta save my girl. So gotta save my girly pop's girl dad. She's my bestie. But like the only one that I really hated doing was Trady. The rest were relatively fun. But Trady, whoever designed Trady has a special place in hell. Yeah, I mean, Deterra was at least, tolerable. Trady just sucks. But, Trady just sucks. They're all boss fights. Boss fights suck. But my favorite is Savato. I like if we're going into Neo-Guild territory, I also really like Alethea. I spent a lot of time fighting Alethea too. I really like the final bosses, even though that's why they were funny, because I liked them. I wish I could have actually given them diseases, but they're just girly pop mother, rancid girly pop mother. You know Mayumi, she was rancid. She was mother, but she was rancid. Any other questions? We got how much time left? We got 4 minutes. I could probably take 1 or 2 more questions. Yes, you.
What's your least favorite combination of guild, neo-guild, or stigma to fight together?
I think anything that has Trady in it, and just anything that has Trady in it. Everything else is fine. You put Trady in there, I'm going to kill you. I would look at it, and I would just say, yeah, this person's going to die. I can't healing touch you. You're going to die. Sorry to whoever has Trady. Go get Derek. I'm not Derek. I just look like him. 1 more question.
Have you ever played the game Pathologic by Ice Pick Lodge?
I have not, but I've heard a lot about it. But I have not played Pathologic. I have read a couple of things about it because I know a lot of people who love Pathologic. Shout out to Pathologic 3. Apparently that's coming out at some point.
Sometime this year. I have a couple of friends that are very into it.
I've heard good things about it.
Brace for pain.
It's Russian.
Yeah, it's very Russian. Also, I would like to point out that the Rosalia virus happened in 2020.
Yep.
I'm just going to point that out right now. The Rosalia virus happened in 2020. Yeah, instead of bleach infections. But the Rosalia virus is actually competently handled, unlike fucking everything else in this world. There was another, an unrelated, I don't know if anyone, I'm also a huge JRPG fan. Anyone's played 7th Dragon 2020? That takes place in the Doomsday Apocalypse, by the way. And also, guess what year it happens to be in? It's in the name. But anyways, we got 2 minutes left, so we got 1 more question I can eke out, and then I gotta go. Yes, you.
Can you treat
bombs with bleach injections.
You know what?
Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night, everybody. Thank you for coming.